Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from Grady Tech and this is the camera review of the LG V30 and the V30 Plus. Before we get started, these are the camera specs. On the rear, it has dual camera setup with a 16 megapixel primary camera with f1.6 aperture and a 13 megapixel secondary camera with wide angle lens and f1.9 aperture, followed by a single LED flash and laser assisted focus. On the front, it has a 5 megapixel wide angle camera. So this is the camera interface. I've enabled camera roll over here. So every time I take a picture, I get a quick preview over there. So it's a nice feature to use the entire screen real estate. Next, we can do a swipe down or swipe up gesture to switch between the cameras. That's the front and rear. We have two toggles on the right side. This is for the primary camera and this is for the secondary wide angle camera. Let me just show you that. So we are using the primary camera now. And if you click this button, it will switch to the wide angle camera. So this is the wide angle camera. Next we have this button over here for modes. Over here we have the cine mode, manual video recording and manual mode for photos. If we go back, this is the front facing camera and over here we have two modes once again. This is the normal selfie mode and this is the wide angle selfie mode. Next, this is the toggle for flash. And as you can see, there's just on and off. There is no auto flash for the front facing camera. Now let's look at some sample shots. All these pictures were taken with auto HDR turned on using the primary camera. Dynamic range is good, but it could have been better. It has good color reproduction and has accurate color balance. That's something expected in a flagship. It overexposes the shots to take bright images, but sometimes that ends up adding a faded effect. Focusing speeds are good, touch to focus is super fast because of the laser assisted focus. Capturing speeds are good even when we take pictures with auto HDR and HDR on. These are some shots taken with HDR on using the primary camera. Colors have more contrast, but dynamic range is good. Images are once again slightly overexposed and you get a faded effect. But on the whole, you get pretty natural looking images. These are some macro shots. You get pretty good blur effect because of the f1.6 aperture. Once again, focusing speeds are good. These are some shots taken with the wide angle camera. Regular pictures are followed by the wide angle pictures. The wide angle camera has good exposure control, at least better than the primary camera. Color reproduction is good. By the way, all these images are taken with HDR mode on auto. Focusing speeds, capturing speeds and sharpness are all good. On the whole, you get some pretty amazing shots with the wide angle cameras. These are some shots taken with the HDR turned on using the wide angle camera. Image quality looks the same as regular camera, but with a wider view. Dynamic range is good and colors have more contrast, but it has better exposure control and you get comparatively cleaner images. Like most flagships, even this phone has manual mode to take those perfect shots, and LG offers something called a Graphy mode, where it gives you a set of presets to take better pictures in manual mode. Now for selfies, this phone has super wide angle front facing camera and it gives us the option to choose between the regular selfie and the wide angle selfie. I have taken all the selfies in the wide angle mode. It overexposes the image to make you look fair, but colors look faded, especially the blacks. Exposure control is good, but dynamic range isn't that impressive. You get good selfies, but not the best. In low light conditions, lot of noise creeps in and the images are very soft. In very low light conditions, it uses the display's flash and there is no auto flash option. So most of these images are taken with the display flash on. As you can see, the display light wasn't enough and you get pretty noisy images in very low light conditions. In good lighting conditions, we get great selfies, but for the most part, they are either overexposed or very soft. Selfies are a huge letdown, especially in low light. Now coming to low light performance, all these images were taken with the primary camera as it has f1.6 aperture. It overexposes the images to make it bright and colors look slightly faded. Capturing speeds and focusing speeds are good, but in low light, it isn't all that impressive. In indoor conditions, it does a pretty good job, but they look slightly dull. Now coming to video recording, this phone is loaded with features. To get started, it has manual video recording, where we can change the color balance, exposure level, focus point, ISO, shutter speed, even while recording the video. We can also record video in LG Cinelog format and color grade it later. Basically, it's the most awesome phone for video recording in manual mode. It also has another mode called Cine Video Mode, where we have 15 different color grade presets to add a cinematic look to your video, along with a new feature called Point Zoom, which allows us to zoom in to a specific point in a video. Normally most phones zoom in at the center. These are some sample footages with different color grade presets and point zoom. Now coming to regular video recording, here's the sample footage. We can record video in 4K and Full HD resolution at 30 fps and Full HD resolution in 60 fps. We can also record video in Full HD resolution in the new 18:9 aspect ratio. We can record video using both the cameras and switch between them even while recording. And we do have stabilization for both the cameras. In 1080p, stabilization is good, but it does a lot of focus hunting on the primary camera. Now this is the footage from the wide angle camera. Stabilization is much better and focus hunting is a lot less. Color reproduction is pretty good and color balance is on point. Now while recording video in 4K, stabilization is pretty bad. At least OnePlus 5T did a better job. By the way, this is the footage recorded in 4K but downgraded to 1080p. While recording video with primary camera, footage is overexposed and colors look faded. Now this is the footage from the wide angle camera, once again in 4K but downgraded to 1080p. It still has stabilization and exposure is pretty well managed. This is the footage from the front camera. For some reason it froze for a second at the beginning, I don't know why. We can record video using the front camera only in 1080p. For video recording, it uses electronic image stabilization, so it crops the sensor. So you won't get super wide angle footage like the selfies. Just like the pictures, it still overexposes the shot, so colors look slightly faded, but still look pretty good. Color balance is good and stabilization is once again pretty good, but sometimes you get a wobbly effect when you try to move a lot. So guys, to conclude, cameras on this phone are pretty good. Its dual camera setup is quite unique and its wide angle camera is great to take some landscape shots. With that said, they still don't perform as good as other flagships, especially the Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL or the Samsung S8 and Note 8 phones. But if you're interested in manual mode features, manual video recording, this phone has more to offer. The only disappointing thing about this phone is its front facing camera. In well-lit conditions it's good and in low light it's pretty bad. So you can buy this phone for cameras only if you are interested in manual control. If you want to take the best looking images in auto mode, then Pixel 2 is a better choice in the same price segment, which by the way offers portrait mode for the front and rear cameras. So guys, looking at these images, what do you think about the cameras on the LG V30 and the V30 Plus? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you are planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description, it really helps the channel. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to see more cool videos on tech. I'm Nikhil from Greedy Tech signing off. Have a nice day.